The scent of blood hung heavy in the air. Katie sighed and pulled out her pouch of gravening dust. Pouring a bit into her hand, she blew out a breath, and the sparkling dust adhered to the surface of the door before her, revealing a tangled crisscross of fingerprints. Once visible, the fingerprints were easy to collect onto slender glass slides. It would be up to Jupiter, the magisterial artificer, to decode them. Katie Kyle Ursel was a magister, part of a group of magi found in nearly every major city around De Sicari. These magi specialized in processing the scenes of violent crime and in catching the criminals. Ironically, they bore the name once given to the Magi Guardians, which had themselves been culled from criminals sentenced to death. That was before Kala Sinsolador, Empress Kala of Dashmar, had set a new standard. The Dashmari had found their own school to train their magi, the Deshugan, and revived a lost method of acquiring a protector, that of bonding an elemental in a partnership. Unlike the magisters, who would perish when their magi did, the elementals merely returned to their own plane of existence. Now there were 3 more Canlans, in addition to Kryshal, and the Dashmari way had become the norm for most magic users, save Argoth's techromancers, who never used magisters to begin with. Katie herself had been training at Tirithal Canlan, located in Ni Ramarides, and she was unique in that she had no elemental partner. Though the young mage had undergone the ritual several times, no guardian had ever presented themselves. Over the years, she'd learned to deal with it, but it still hurt. Being a guardianless misfit among the magi meant being creative. Katie had taken it upon herself to train with the harriers of Arcadia. More than once, those skills had kept her alive in her demanding line of work, where a magic drain could be downright lethal. The young raven-haired mage finished processing the door and tucked the slides into her pouch. She'd already processed the rest of the outside. With a deft hand, she directed her mage light through the wards protecting the scene and into the building. Inside, more mage lights bobbed, softly illuminating Katie's partners patiently working in the far end of the room. "All done. Where do you want me to start in here?" Katie asked. Rolf's black furred ears twitched back at her, though the Dashmari Magister didn't look up. "That end, please, Katie," Rolf said. "It's too strong for us over there." Katie moved the light towards the opposite end of the room. She already knew what awaited her there. She'd been the one to process the body for the wraiths to take away. The body had lain in a sea of blood, now congealed in a tacky mess upon the floor. Her 2 Dashmari partners, highly sensitive to scents, could just barely tolerate the thick coppery smell, and that only by employing magic to help. Fresh blood brought out the hunting instincts of the wolfkin. Starting from where Rolf and Victor had begun, and moving the opposite direction, Katie began processing the remaining half of the room. Time passed. Rolf and Victor departed with their own evidence, leaving Katie in the care of 2 crows, as the city guards were called. Katie yawned, thankful she was almost done, then paused. Something glittering darkly in the recesses of a corner caught her eye. "What do we have here?" she mused, holding up an inky black stone. It looked to have been a pendant of some sort, but no chain was in evidence, unless it had been collected by the Dashmari Magisters. Katie stared at the stone, captivated. "Lady Katie?" The Magister jumped, just as one of the crows stuck his head in the door. She absent-mindedly tucked the stone in a pocket of her uniform and looked up. "Yes? Are you almost done, lady?" "Almost, Alphonse, I promise." He nodded and withdrew, leaving Katie to wrap up her work. Katie stared at the obsidian pendant, wondering again why she hadn't turned it in with the rest of the evidence. She held it up to the light, marveling at the fact that it turned an opaque gray color when held against the backdrop of light.